Alright, I just started. Let's get right into it.
I'm Eric Falsey, and about to watch this breakdown or I'll break your knees. This is a breakdown of Daredevil episode 5 and 6. Disney Plus dropped both episodes on March 25th, and we are merging these analyses into one big St. Patty's Day heist / Muse Bloodfest video for you, with all the Easter eggs and details you missed across these two episodes. Episode 5 is titled With Interest, which is, of course, a play on words pertaining to the interest gained on a bank account, as this episode is a bank heist. Let's go! Episode 5 opens with the song The Rocky Road to Dublin by the Young Dubliners, actually a 1994 cover of an old 19th century folk song with words from the Irish poet D.K. Gavin. And if I mispronounce Gavin or Gavin or whatever it is, I'm supremely sorry. But the lyrics tell an awesomely hilarious story about an Irishman making his way across Ireland and Wales and England, a journey initially off to reap the corn, which could mean any crop or just to make some money, and often being mocked by locals for his Irish accent and getting into fights. It's just the kind of song that these Irish members of the Five Families would blare in their car on their way to steal a valuable gold-colored gem.
On April 25th, the accountant is back, but this time he brought his brother.
It's been a minute.
Do you like puzzles?
Let me do the talking. Guess I hit him harder than I thought.
The Accountant 2, rated R.
Hey, Google.
Dove Men Plus Care.
Welcome to the team. Thanks. That's the finger.
We see various shots of St. Patrick's Day festivities around New York City. Why St. Patrick's Day is the day of a heist? Well, why not? We saw in The Fugitive how useful a St. Patrick's Day parade in Chicago was when it came to blending in and escaping authorities. It's just a massive day of partying and revelry, and the police would be stretched thin or themselves pretty drunk. But Irish-American Matthew Murdoch isn't partying. After promising Kirsten McDuffie that he'd get more funding for their law firm, he now sits in New York Mutual Bank seeking a loan. He twiddles his broken Daredevil horn as if waiting for this horn to give him permission to break someone's knee, which he will in this episode. He uses his Daredevil hearing to detect voices around the bank. One woman saying she and her newlywed husband just got back from City Hall and are now opening a joint checking account. This couple will come back later in the episode, and I assume based on that it wasn't a prenup between these two. Also, getting a marriage license at 9 a.m. on St. Patrick's Day? Interesting timing for that. Also, I don't think you need to be married to have a joint checking account. I don't know, maybe you do. This is the MCU. It's after the blip. They have all kinds of crazy laws, and I don't want to be overly presumptuous. Also, the second woman he hears is this short-haired woman in pink and purple.
Come on, it's St. Patrick's Day. What do you mean you don't want to come out for drinks with us?
So this is Celine, played by Annie Haig, whom we'll later learn is the inside woman who's in on this heist with Devlin. I assume she's here early to case the bank lobby to signal to her partner in crime. Matt also hears Johnny Santini talking to the guard about the Rangers game. Johnny, played by New York actor Jimmy Palumbo, comes back in episode 6 as a New York sanitation worker who washes off the Muse mural and realizes it's in blood. Matt's here to meet the bank manager, Mr. Aldridge, but instead meets Yusuf Khan, father to Kamala Khan. Mohan Kapoor coming back from Miss Marvel and the Marvels. Kamala's dad works at a bank both in the Ms. Marvel comics and in the MCU, because remember in the Marvels, Yusuf was overheard giving Dag some financial advice.
That's why you want to invest in index funds rather than in individual stocks. Of course, both a Roth IRA and 401k are important for tax purposes.
On Yusuf's desk is a ton of adorable do-it-for-her style reminders of his daughter. We see a Funko figurine. This is the real-life Miss Marvel Diamond Glitter Funko. There's a framed photo of Yusuf with his wife Muniba, their daughter Kamala, and their son Amir. There's a pink paper with one of Kamala's drawings of herself that would have come from her bedroom walls. And then there's this mug that reads "World's Okayest Dad," probably a gag gift from Kamala. There's also the bowl of the butterscotch candies that come up at the end of the episode. And then there's this book of writings from Rumi, who was a 13th century Persian poet, Islamic scholar, Maturidi theologian, and Sufi mystic. And this might be the most important Easter egg of the episode, because Rumi was the poet from whom the inscription on Kamala's bangle was derived. What you seek is seeking you. That bangle, we now know after the Marvels film, is one of the 2 quantum bands that can be used to tear holes in reality and cross over into a new universe. Part of the fun of traveling is sharing what you're up to with everybody back home. But if you're paying through the nose for international roaming or spending half of your trip looking for free Wi-Fi, you're doing it wrong. Now that eSIM is in, Airalo is the easiest way to stay connected no matter where you are. Whatever you need to stay connected. One of our staffers, for instance, just went to Edinburgh. They picked out a plan and were able to stay connected the whole time they were there. No crazy. My first of 2 interviews with Iman Vellani, she explained how the original inscription that they planned for that bangle was meant to tie into Kang the Conqueror, as well as Kamala's time travel and the original plan for the 5th Avengers film. Do you think it's possible And this is just nerd speculation. If you can't speculate on it without bringing in what you already know, do you think Kang or He Who Remains might have planned specifically for Kamala to go back in time?
Yeah. Okay, so the inscription on the bangle used to be, what is destined for you will come for you. We did change it after that, but I like to use that as a way of, justifying how Kamala goes back in time and why that was meant to happen, because there were so many questions, and we really wanted to bring partition in the story and just, I know it's cramming a lot in episodes 4 and 5, but we didn't know if we were going to have season 2, and we had to put all our cards on the table and just show everything about this culture and the history of it. And so that line, what is destined for you will come for you, that used to be on the bangle, is kind of a good sense of, this was meant to happen, predestination, even if it kind of hurts the endgame time travel rules, but so does old Steve Rogers. So
exactly. You know how it works.
So yeah. Kevin Feige is the Kang of this universe. That's how I like to.
But that Rumi inscription was added by Kamala's great-grandmother, Aisha, who was a being called a clandestine who came from the Nord dimension, who met Kamala's great-grandfather Hassan and wove this beautiful passage about the destined hopes and dreams of our lives, equally as awaiting of us as we are of them, into the cosmic mythology of this item. And Yusuf having this book on his desk makes me now wonder, is he trying to research that quote on his daughter's bangle? Is he trying to figure out the origin of the quantum band and how this relic made its way through the female lineage of the family he married into? I hope so. That's what I'm assuming he's reading into that book for. Yusuf asks Matt why he's not wearing green, warning a leprechaun might pinch him. Yusuf himself, we know, loves wearing the color green in his clothing, as we saw with his Hulk green body paint in the Ms. Marvel series. Yusuf's phone buzzes with a text from Kamala, and I think from that, she's already made a cameo in the series. From this alone. He says that she's in California visiting friends, La La Land as they say. I assume she's meeting Bruno Corelli, who ended the Ms. Marvel series planning to go to Caltech, which is in Pasadena, which is on the east side of the LA area. Maybe this is setting up Kamala for a cameo on the Wonder Man series, which will be set in LA. Or, since Bruno was the one to identify that Kamala had the mutant gene, maybe she's visiting him in Pasadena with some follow-up questions on the matter. When Yusuf offers the candy, he runs his hands over the bowl so Matt would know where it is. It's very thoughtful, though Matt can hear the out of those butterscotch's heartbeats. They bring up Kamala and talk about Jersey City's own hometown superhero, Ms. Marvel, which Matt takes a passing interest in. He later says that his firm represents fathers and sons and daughters. Yeah, Matt and Kamala are totally going to meet up by the end of the series. Nexus Point News this week actually reported that following rumors that Marvel is moving forward with a Champion/Young Avengers series, that writer Rachna Freshbaum will be the head writer of that series. Outside, 5 members of the Irish gang of the 5 families pull up, led by Devlin. Remember him, he was the Irish guy who shot Victor's drivers in Red Hook. He tells his guys this:
20 minutes of courage, lads. Then we got 1.8 mil and that fat bastard's off Luca's back.
So Luca was the tracksuit leader of a different faction of the 5 families, and it sounds like Devlin is siding with Luca against Victor's faction. Devlin passes out multicolored masks like this one that was sent to us through some kind of viral marketing packages we've been getting from Marvel Studios. Very fun. There is a red mask, a green one, yellow, blue, and purple. And yes, those are 5 out of the 6 colors of the Infinity Stones, and it sets up them to be looking for an orange thing, which I admit is kind of a stretch of a way to look at this heist. But with 5 members of this gang, color-coded members of this gang, it does set us up to at least look for a 6th, because there are always 6 in a heist. 6 in the heist in Inception, and heists that we've seen in like Heat. Reservoir Dogs, there were 6 of them in that. And actually Reservoir Dogs and the movie it was based on, the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, were color-coded heists. And the reason there's 6 is that there's always one to stay behind as the getaway driver. And you'll notice all 5 of them leave that car. There's no driver staying behind. And while at first it seems like this is poor planning, it's clear that Devlin doesn't plan on actually getting away. 20 minutes is way too long to spend in a bank that you're robbing, like the Spike Lee movie Inside Man, which gets referenced in this episode, at least cited in the episode's credits. This heist has something else afoot. Now, when the lights go out, Celine performatively raises her smartphone, blaming AT&T for the bad signal, but she's clearly just playing along. We see that Devlin, the team leader, chooses the green mask because he wants the Irish honor, while the goons hit the guard and the hero grabs a gun, and to tell her, Green politely tells Celine to walk past.
Over here, please. Thank you.
because she's secretly a sixth member of this gang. But if they really wanted to sell it, he should have at least cussed the way he did at everyone else. Now, based on the mural you can see on the back wall of this bank, they filmed this at 20 Exchange Place in New York City. The mural shows the different stages of New York's financial district in the process of being constructed. Actually, if you look closely, you can hear these workers singing, "We built this city."
Is that it? Is that your best?
Matt pretends to wander in and allows himself to be taken hostage. He listens to the heartbeats of the other hostages. And listen closely here. Aha! When he gets to Celine, notice the heartbeat slows way down because she's not at all stressed out. She is part of the plan. And I think it's this moment when he knows that she's on the inside of whatever's happening here. Matt tells Devlin that if they kill anyone, their armed robbery charge will become a murder, which means 25 to life. And Devlin from Matt knows to call him a solicitor, which is a term for attorney or lawyer in the UK and in Ireland. Matt has to willingly take the hit from the butt of the shotgun, even though he could have totally blocked or evaded it because he can't give himself away as a badass fighter. And the cops pull up and Devlin tells Red,
Nothing changes. They do them. We do us.
Matt also overhears Devlin telling Red to plan to send Blue down with Yusuf to the vault, but as just the assistant manager, Yusuf cannot open that vault. Detective Angie Kim comes back, taking command of the scene. We saw her in episode 1 sharing a drink with Detective Cherry at his retirement party. She gets Devlin on the phone and they agree on the pseudonym Jesse James, referring to the old West bank robber who is killed by the coward Robert Ford. Devlin agrees to letting 2 hostages free.
I think they're in control. Just like the boss says.
I assume by boss they're referring to Vanessa, and if so, that sheds some light on the way she's actually playing Fisk. Devlin picks Matt and the newlywed wife to go free, but Matt asks to keep him and let the woman's husband go free. Matt overhears Santini talking about how there's nothing in the vault except safety deposit boxes, including his grandmother's ring, and a 1984 Marc Messier signed puck. These hockey pucks go for around $170 on eBay, so, you don't need to put that in a safety deposit box, but I guess it's of sentimental value to Santini. I love this guy. Naturally, Celine suggests diamonds are what they're after because, yeah, she knows the target loot. A good reason to watch Spike Lee's Inside Man. It's also safety deposit boxes that the thieves are targeting, but without spoiling that movie, it's something interesting for a very different reason. Yusuf tells Mr. Blue that the bank was built in 1931, with the vault constructed first and the bank built around it. Actually, 20 Exchange Place was also completed in the year 1931. As Matt has Mr. Red take him to the bathroom, he loosens his tie, collapses his cane, and the Daredevil theme music kicks in until all the music just goes silent as he turns on Mr. Red to attack. The effectiveness of the sound mixing here is on full display because Matt has to muffle the louder sounds to avoid alerting the others. He places his foot on the gun, he uses his necktie to strangle and muzzle Mr. Red, but when that shotgun teeters over the edge, he has to drag the guy down a few steps so that he can catch it at the last second. Matt unmasks him and now has his own red mask, so in effect, he has a way to Daredevil bound and don his natural color while saving the day. Yusuf tries to stall again, saying they change a combination on the first Tuesday of every month, which is kind of a silly trick to try to pull on St. Patrick's Day, which everyone knows is March 17th. Matt picks up the radio to fake an Irish accent to Devlin.
I needed the bank manager to be sufficiently motivated to open the vault. He is now. We're almost in.
Charlie Cox was born in London, but the first role I saw him in was in Boardwalk Empire, where he did one hell of an Irish accent. It's really just fun to see him do different voices, of course. But to avoid coming back empty-handed, Matt, whom Yusuf Khan assumes is just a blind lawyer, picks a 4-tumbler combination lock vault door. Remember, Matt also opened a safe this way in Daredevil Season 2, Episode 6, No Regrets, when he and Elektra stole a Roxxon ledger. Matt says they have to let them think they're in control, which is what he heard Red and Devlin say earlier. And I think Matt distracts Yusuf by having him continue to talk about giving a piggy bank to Kamala to teach her a lesson about saving. And Yusuf says,
We just try to impart what we know to the next generation. Protect them from what they can't see.
if this Champions series is happening, Matt is totally going to be the mentor figure of it. Yusuf says,
Exactly what kind of a lawyer are you?
A really good one.
In Spider-Man No Way Home, when Matt caught the brick, he said a similar thing.
How did you just do that?
I'm a really good lawyer.
Devlin tells Detective Kim that she doesn't recognize the significance of St. Paddy's Day for a Protestant. Earlier, she said that he was from Belfast, which is in Northern Ireland, the Protestant part of the island and technically part of the United Kingdom. Interesting that she would know that without knowing anything about who is actually robbing this bank other than their accent. But she has a pretty good Irish accent on her own, so maybe she just has a good ear for Catholic Irish versus Belfast Irish. But yes, St. Patrick's Day was made an official Christian holiday back in the 17th century and is widely considered a Catholic holiday. But in the late 1960s, Northern Ireland Ireland didn't celebrate the day. And in 1976, Irish Unionist loyalists, those are the pro-UK Protestant minority on the island at the time, concentrated in the north around Belfast, set off a car bomb outside of a St. Patrick's Day celebration. So while today a lot of Protestant Irish do celebrate St. Patrick's Day, I mean, we all celebrate it, it does just have a troubled history because of these sectarian divisions. Devlin makes Kim tell him a joke, and she whips up an absolute heater about a leprechaun nun and a penguin. And I love this because this is the St. Patrick's Day episode and we just need all aspects of being Irish, which just includes some dirty jokes. Meanwhile, Matt reassures Yusuf as he opens the safety deposit boxes.
You're gonna see your daughter again.
Inshallah.
So inshallah is a term meaning if Allah wills it. And on him saying that, box 407 opens and inside is a jewelry pouch with truly an Infinity Stone sized orange diamond. Look, I know those stones were atomized by Thanos, but this sucker looks like the one Thanos woke up with after he did to Gamora what Matt did to Bullseye. In this scene, Matt also talks about his mother.
I never knew my mother until much later in life.
I'm sorry.
Of course, that's a reference to Sister Maggie, Matthew's mother, a nun whom we meet in season 3 of the Daredevil series. Wherever that nun is, I hope she's okay. Devlin did say the score would be 1.8 million, and this diamond looks like it's at least 16 carats, which can run you between 1 and 3 million, depending on the other C's, you know, cut, color, clarity. So that tracks. No.
What comes to mind when you hear made from scratch? Fresh ingredients, perhaps. Or food that's made with love.
Knowing the other cops were preparing to raid, Matt takes his time with Devlin and stalls long enough for the smoke grenade to smash in so that he can take advantage of the chaos. He throws the jewelry pouch for Devlin to catch. Mr. Yellow fires at the cops and then bumps into this female bank teller, knocking her on the floor. This is the same poor woman whose face got smashed into the counter earlier and spent the whole episode with a cut on her face, so she just can't take a break, and I assume they cast a stunt woman for this part. Devlin changes into a cop uniform, slipping out among the cops and the hostages, just like the people running the heist in Inside Man do, while Matt whacks Mr. Yellow's head against a column and he listens through the chaos. Did it kind of sound like there was a daddy in there? Almost like it was Kamala Khan's voice all the way from Pasadena calling to her dad? Or could this been the voice of Frank Castle's son, whom Frank Castle said he would always hear him saying, "Get him, daddy!" Matt hears Devlin handing off the jewelry pouch to Celine to give to Luca, so it's not really clear if the boss they were referring to was, you know, the tracksuit Luca or Vanessa, or if they actually do respect Fisk. Yusuf later speculates that their boss was the contact inside the bank, suggesting it to be Celine, but the way Devlin instructs her to take the diamond to Luca tells me that he doesn't consider her to be his boss, but rather he's serving someone who's just off-site outside of this heist. But the question is, whose box 407 key did they steal? Like, who had this diamond to begin with, and how do they know it was in there? Matt follows Devlin and puts on the red mask, the closest thing he can get to being a true Daredevil right now, and he gives Devlin a bit of Devlin. Devlin puts up a solid fight, but Matt flips off of his back and then smashes his face against some loose bottles, and then does a leaping kick to break Devlin's leg in a fold that I never want to see again. Celine opens a pouch to realize it's one of Yusuf's butterscotches. It reminds me of when Peter Quill fools Yondu by filling the orb with a troll doll. Matt meets with Yusuf the next day and they make some tentative plans for a family dinner at the Khan residence in Jersey City. After eating with the Hulk family and She-Hulk, Matt just loves dining with superhero families. And as a Marvel hero with contacts in the LA area, he could also just be helpful in anything Kamala could be doing down there in SoCal. Jessica has a great video coming out tomorrow that explores Kamala Khan's future on a Champions Young Avengers series, or maybe even Bruno tinkering around in OB's old Caltech Pasadena area aerospace lab that we saw in Loki season 2 with all that temporal technology that might be able to answer some of Kamala's questions about time travel. Matt takes a butterscotch candy this time to draw Yusuf's attention to the bowl, which is where he has placed the missing diamond. Now, a note about the timeline in this episode: this would be taking place on March 17th, 2027. Jessica recently broke down the kind of confusing timeline of the series and how it connects to the events of Daredevil season 3. Dario Scardapani said that this series is set 7 years later. So if Daredevil season 3 was in early 2018, 7 years after that would set the Foggy Death prologue in fall 2025 perhaps, and then 1 year after that would be Fisk's election in fall 2026, which then would lead to New Year's 2027, and now we would be in March 2027, 1 month before the events of Captain America Brave New World, which was in April 2027. Also, the driver that Devlin killed in Red Hook in the past episode, a set photo of Frank Castle from episode 4 includes an angle of one of his photos on the wall that looks like it's a photo of that shot driver. So I don't know if they just reused the photo from a different scene for this set dressing, or if Frank Castle might have considered that driver a target of his own that Devlin just conveniently killed off for him. Okay, on to episode 6, titled Excessive Force. This episode opens with a BB report where the production date looks like April 9th, 2024. Now again,
We're almost. We'll just keep.
And for these shots, they used some production clapboards that were just used during the show's reshoot period, which was in April 2024. So this date is not meant to be the in-universe date of this episode, but we can assume that we are now sometime closer to April 2027. So while everything in this show is going on, President Thaddeus Ross is putting together a peace deal with Japan, France, and India over the sharing of adamantium mined on Celestial Island. And boy, I hope it all goes well. Street artists say artists like them get a bad rap, but there are other real people out there trying to hurt the city, and they just have to count on vigilantes to stop them. He doesn't really realize that the city's most prolific street artist at this moment is Mew.
Hey Google. Pause.